Good morning, partners in crime. I want to introduce you to the wonderful DiAnn Mills. She is a best. I don't know why it does that. I apologize. So DiAnn is a best-selling author who is all over the place, and we love having her visit with us, and we are very lucky to have her live today. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I am excited to be a part of Partners in Crime in every aspect. Y'all, and I can say that, I'm in Texas. Y'all are amazing. Just love what you do.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Every time you visit, you are always such a joy.
Well, thank you, because I can be quirky just like any other writer too.
So are we. That's okay. So DiAnn, I'm going to jump right into the interview because we only get 30 minutes. And I know that you have been writing best-selling novels for years. And in your bio, it says that readers should expect an adventure. Can you elaborate on what that means to you?
That means that I have to experience an adventure in developing characters, plot, emotion, setting, everything in the writing process before I can expect my readers to expect an adventure. It is what I look for when I am reading a story, and I want to shut the whole world out. I want to focus in on those characters, not just focus in, but be those characters. So if that is my criteria for reading a novel, then that has to be my criteria for writing one.
Oh, I love that. It's so interesting to me. Now, we got to be with you for Facing the Enemy. And our tour just ended, which I'm very sad to say. But how have you developed that adventure in Facing the Enemy?
Well, that is a mix of easy and tough questions. I was contracted to write the book before one of our sons was killed in a tragic hit and run pedestrian accident.
Oh.
The odd part is that I knew that was going to happen in my story before the tragedy. And I was scheduled to begin writing that story just a couple of weeks after it happened. So I went to my journal, and we writers are always saying, journal, journal, journal. And it's true, because we get lots of good ideas, and it allows us to evaluate, analyze, work through our emotions. And that's what I did when our Brett passed. And so when I went to write this, I picked up the journal and I thought, this is going to be the toughest story I've ever written, but it's also going to be my healing book. And I took what I had journaled, the bitterness, the grief, the sorrow, the what ifs, all of those things, and I massaged them into Risa's personality. So that was part of it. I already knew that my character was going to work the division of the FBI that handles basically abuse to children in all manners and forms. And so I took the story a step farther and I added the adoption theme. And 3 out of our 4 sons are adopted. So it was the hardest book I've ever written, but I'm pleased with the results. I'm pleased with, okay, I cried through this scene and that scene. I laughed through this scene and that scene, and hope that the reader did also. It is a healing book, and I hope that the readers, number one, are entertained, by a good story. That's always primary. But number two, I hope that I inspired them to be better people. And thirdly, I hope that I encouraged that reader, no matter where they are, that life can be good, but we go through some rough stuff in the process.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That just explains so much. The readers that I've spoken with, almost all of them have said how emotional that they got when reading Facing the Enemy. And you put your heart into this.
Oh yeah, heart and lots of tissues.
Imagine. Oh. So Rissa, she is a very strong character. How I mean, obviously that's part of you made her so emotional. And this affected her emotionally. So is a lot of your emotion reflected in her personality and what you were going through? Is that how you wrote her?
Creating credible emotions begins in the characterization stage. Granted, I am a seat of the pants writer, so if you're surprised by something, imagine how surprised I am. But I do write organically in that I create maybe 16 pages of characterization notes. I have a huge sketch, which reminds me, I'm taking a rabbit trail right here. Anyone listening, viewing to this interview, if you are a writer and you want to see what I do for characterization, all you have to do is email me and I'll send it to you. But back to what I was saying before, I have to know who my character is by chapter 1, line 1 of my stories. And while the emotions and the loss were what I went through, they were still massaged into Risa's characterization. Her personality trait isn't exactly mine,
Right.
but what I went through helped. So there were things that happened, outbursts that happened in her personality, but I don't know if they would have happened in mine. So when I get to a tough scene and I'm looking at it, I just close my eyes. I envision who that character is, her goals, her everything about that character, so that when that character walks into that scene, I have an idea of how they are going to emotionally feel, react, and respond to what's going on around them.
Wow, that's amazing to me. So you mentioned that you're not a plotter. So how do you know who your character is before you get started if you're not plotting this out?
I have basically an idea, a little seed. What happens when an FBI agent witnesses the death of her brother? It may only be what happens when a woman witnesses the death of her brother. And that just germinates in me. It's like I planted that seed, so what's going to come up out of the soil? And as I think about it, my thoughts go first to what kind of character would have the most to lose and the most to gain by walking this road, by taking this journey. Because the character, the point of view character, has to fit both of those balances.
Yeah.
If they don't do it, they have the most to lose of any character in the book. If they do it, they have the most to gain. So that blended together helps me form the type of character who can handle the ups and the downs and the struggles, the good times and the bad times in the story. And that is basically how I do it. I've got to know who that person is before I can toss them off a cliff. So,
but it sounds like, so you really know your characters. You might not know where the plot is going, but before you get started, you really know your characters.
right. And I often get halfway through the book and I'm writing about this character and I'm learning and exploring. Okay, now it's time for me to go back to the beginning and make sure I am really true to this character I've discovered. And that helps me keep on track and hopefully let it be more of a real credible story to the reader.
Wow. So we've talked about Rissa, and what, because you've written a lot of books. So which character of all those books would you say is your favorite?
Oh, that's like saying which one of my kids, which one of my sons or my grandsons and granddaughters are my favorite. And it's always the one that my mind is on at the time.
Yes.
So right now it's Facing the Enemy. Before that, it was Concrete Evidence. Come next summer, when I'm getting ready to launch the next book, it will be Lethal Standoff. So it's the one, it's like one of our kids who's hurting or struggling. That's the one where our heart goes out to at the time. And so do I have a favorite? No, I don't, because they've all been favorites at one time or another.
In the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. That's so interesting. So which character has been the most difficult to write?
I'm going back to Facing the Enemy. Now, my hero, Gage, I just loved him. He had more patience than my husband. And my husband has to have a lot of patience with me. But I would say Carson was very, very difficult to write. He was a young man who had seen something tragic. And the tragedy also involved his stepfather. And his stepfather had raised him. He loved his stepfather. He'd learned so much from him. He was Carson's dad. And to not understand and to be so hurt by something that happened in the story was very, very difficult for him. He is young, barely 21. And while someone who's 20 or 21 will say they're mature and they have it together, they don't, because they have so much of life to learn.
Yeah.
So that was a bit difficult for me, was writing about Carson, because I felt so badly because he'd been so hurt.
Yeah, I can't imagine putting yourself in that position to share that, even when you've not been in that position yourself. So I've been watching you a lot, and I see all the things that you do, and you are always online, you're always writing, you spend a lot of time with your family. And I have to be honest, I'm a little jealous because I have no idea how you have the time and the energy you do. But how do you get all of this done?
I am OCD on discipline. And when I do things, I am up 5-ish in the mornings. I am a woman of faith. And so, I go to my Bible and Bible study first. And then I grab my iPad and I am on either the treadmill or the elliptical or the stationary bicycle for the next hour and a half.
Oh my.
During that time, it's still early in the morning. During that time, I get my social media done.
Mm-hmm.
And social media is a wonderful way of forming relationships, but it is also difficult to contain, or we'd be on it all day.
Right.
So I schedule my blog posts, I respond to what's out there, and then I might just start writing a little bit. And that allows me to get those things done early in the day, before my husband's up, if we have overnight guests before they're up. But it allows me to start the day with those things behind me, those things that can just suck the life out of us.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really thankful that I do look at life that way. So when I hear the coffee beans grinding, I know that it's time. And so I spend a little bit of time with my husband, fix some breakfast, get cleaned up, and I am back to writing. Now, there are times when I've written a really hard scene and I need to back off and come back in with fresh eyes. I'll take a look at social media, give myself 5, maybe at the most 10 minutes. And that allows me to stay on top of things that come in. That's why people say, oh, you're always on social media. No, but I do schedule when I can get back into those things and get items written. I do my best in the morning. That's when I do my best writing, so that after lunch, I can write the blog posts ahead of time. I told you it was OCD.
That's
But I make sure that if a blog post is due in January, it's done in October.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if, you're a woman, you know exactly what I mean. Interruptions, family interruptions. What happens if we get sick? What happens if someone gets sick and we're the only ones who can take care of them? That way, I am never behind. I'm always ahead. And that's the way I have always viewed everything in my life. And it fell right into with the writing world, being ahead. The book that is due now, June the 1st, it'll be done the end of February, 1st of March. And that also gives me time for it to cook. The hitting send and, oh no, why didn't I think of this? Well, I'm still thinking about that book, even though it's done. So I can go back and tweak here and there if I need to before the editors get a hold of it. But we've got to be disciplined. And sometimes for a creative person, I get it, that can be hard because we have somewhat of a free mindset. But writers, if you're a writer, please don't ever turn your things in late, because it throws everybody in the whole publishing house off.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to spin wheels to get their work done when you finally send it in. So, I am a bit of a people pleaser in that respect, because I believe it's part of being professional.
Wow, that's amazing. And you have help at home too with your stuff.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My husband, Dean, is a saint. And I'm looking up here at the time because I know we're on 30 minutes, but I would never have started writing if he hadn't said to me back in 96, honey, stop telling me that someday you're going to write a book. quit your job. I'll give you a year to get anything published. And if you do, whether you get paid for it or not, but if you're published, you don't ever have to go back to your other job.
Aww.
So 5'2" of, all right, I will. And I did. And he has always been very, very supportive. For most of our married life, going on almost, it'll be 30 years in November, he has worked at home too, in his home office. So we have that respect for each other's time and what they are doing. And so he would work his job, and at the end of it, he would take a look at things that I had questions about, make flight and travel arrangements, take a look at speaking and teaching contracts to make sure that I had missed anything, all those kinds of things. And then in January 2017, he lost his job. So he said to me, we've always wondered what it would be like for us to work together side by side in this writing, and we call it a ministry, we do. And let's try it for 1 year. Oh my goodness, Gina, I cried for 1 year. No, please, I don't want this responsibility. It's too hard. I'm scared. Bills, all those kinds of things. And at the end of that year, I had more money in my checking account than I'd had ever before. So here we are going on almost 2024, and we're still doing it. But he creates this green screen background that you're looking at right now. He created those and so many more. He takes all my videos and makes them pretty, does a little airbrush here, puts some sound there, adds text. He does all of those things for me. And I know that if I didn't have my sweet Dean, that I'd be paying somebody else to do these things for me, because I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not so good at. And so we complement each other, and it does really work well. Not everybody sits at a meal table with their husband or wife and talks about, are you sure this is the way he or she was killed? Are you sure this is the way this happened or that happened? And for example, tomorrow we are going to the Ship Channel here in Houston,
Yeah.
and we are touring it because I need to blow up one of the ships there in a future book. And so that's what we do.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. Oh, and we argue, but that wouldn't be a good, solid relationship if we didn't argue. I hate to
It
admit
helps to grow, right?
I said, I hate to admit I'm right. I hate to admit he's right. And 99% of the time he is. But
you are so lucky to have him, and he is such a great guy to work with. I really appreciate his personality, and he's just really great.
Yeah, he is. I'm keeping him.
Good idea. So you mentioned some of the changes and a lot of the things Dean does, but in the time that you've been writing since 96, there have been a lot of changes in the publishing industry and everything. So what has been your favorite change?
I think social media. And while some writers and listeners and viewers out there are saying, grow, no, not social media. I look at social media not as a means of selling a book, but of friendships, relationships. And to me, that's what it's all about. If there is one little thing I know that, or I can refer someone to that betters their life, I want to do it. Whether they are a writer or a cookie baker or parenting or grandparenting, whatever it is, I want to do that. So to me, social media is about relationships, and that means helping other people. Now, if they are looking for a book and they want to try one of mine, that's amazing. I am thrilled that that's what they want to do, but that's not the main reason I'm on there. I'm on there for friendships. And with that attitude, all of you who feel that, yes, I need to be on social media, if you look at it as, and even though I'm introverted, so except when we're talking about writing, getting out and making friends can sometimes be difficult, but you can do it with social media, and you may never meet them face to face, but you certainly can have a new bud. And that to me is one of the biggest and most beautiful changes that have happened in the writing industry. Being able to do a video, being able to speak as you and I are, and just feel good about the conversation.
Yeah. I love your book review videos. They're very helpful, and especially like your devotionals and stuff, because when you pick up a devotional, you don't know necessarily if it really falls in line with what you believe or what you're looking for. So it's made it a lot easier because you explain how it impacts you and the way that it's laid out and what you've used it for. So that's been really helpful. And you do that with all the books you read.
Yes. I want to put that video out there and say, hey, I read this book, and I'm not about to recommend a book that I haven't read or didn't enjoy. So that's rather critical to me, because that's being fake.
Yeah. And the ones that, like, you did one with your granddaughter not long ago, the devotional you two read together. And I thought that was so cool, because I've done that with my nieces and my nephews and stuff. And just doing that together builds the relationship. But I mean, it's perfect. Yeah. So I thought it was great.
Good. I have my youngest granddaughter, who just turned 12, is into creative writing. So I'm hoping that something develops there, but I don't want to push it. I just want to be, I'm a Mimi. I just want to be the Mimi who supports and encourages, and she knows where I'm at. So yeah, those grandkids are really amazing. It's why we put up with our parents.
I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah.
So our time is almost up for today. Is there anything that you would like to share with our friends in the audience today?
I would say don't ever hesitate to reach out to a writer, because they put their shoes and socks on just like you do. And I want friendships. I want relationships. I want to be able to help everyone. And if I don't have the answers, then I'll send you to where I think you might be able to get them. But whatever you're doing, be encouraged, be inspired, and enjoy life. We only have one chance at this life on earth, so let's make the most of it.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for visiting us today. I really appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, I've loved it. Loved every minute. I don't know where the 30 minutes went.